Hey everyone, we have Mikey here with us today. And you are doing a lot of stuff and you're in kind of one of those key sectors that's getting a lot of media attention these days. So what led, well, I guess give us the 30-second version of what you're doing and how you ended up there.
Yeah, so Mikey Lucas, I would say self-educated, not self-made, but self-educated entrepreneur, serial entrepreneur. I got into the private equity world about 5 years ago after realizing that the people that were I was trying to give my money to weren't I would say weren't caring as much about my investment, my family's investment, as much as I would have. So any crazy entrepreneur that thinks they can change the world, I ended up starting my own company, investment company called American Energy Fund, with the sole purpose of making America energy independent and securing America's future when it comes to the energy side, because we have a very large amount of power, 4 to 5 times the amount of power that America is going to need with this whole new wave of manufacturing and robotics and AI and EVs and all that. And we don't have enough power for it. So instead of sitting around complaining about it, figure it out and try to go solve it. So I'm a crazy person that thinks I can, run a million miles an hour and jump out of a plane without a parachute, which is what we're doing. But obviously, there's, that's metaphorically speaking. We have obviously strategy behind what we're doing. It's just sometimes it feels like that. So yeah, no. Right now we're working on a massive data center that's a 3 gigawatt data center, which is going to pull roughly 109% of the entire state of Texas as power in a year. And right now we're working on a multi-billion-dollar energy project for that
So
data
just
center.
small stuff, no pressure. Uh, it sounds like this is your first thing that you've ever done.
Oh,
So,
I
uh,
mean, a lot of pressure here, but it's good.
yeah.
I live in the pressure. It's where diamonds are made. I know obviously the entire point of the show is talking about what you're supposed to do when there is pressure. So I'm excited to jump into that.
Overpressure refers to the sudden increase in pressure above the surroundings caused by the wave generated when something explodes. It propagates outward from the origin, capable of causing impact, momentum, or disruption, depending on its intensity and distance. It is a critical factor in assessing the effects of a mission. Welcome to the Overpressure Podcast, where we dive into the explosive world of business for entrepreneurs who are vets or veteran entrepreneurs.
Hey everyone, welcome to the Overpressure Podcast. We have a super cool and close friend of ours as our guest today. His name is Mikey Lucas. He's doing amazing things in the energy sector, and I hope you guys enjoy and can keep up with everything that this incredible individual has going on. Yeah, how do you handle pressure? That's kind of the first question.
Okay, so there's multiple ways. There's good ways and there's bad ways. How I handle pressure in a bad way is I turn to food. I turn to things like movie shows and things like that that are really not productive. Now, there's certain times where um, pressure or alleviating pressure is supporting me, the things that I do, and then there's other things that are sedating me. As an example, I've noticed pretty quickly that after just kind of observing that drinking alcohol for me was I don't have a problem with alcohol. I don't drink alcohol even that much,
Right.
but I noticed it because I was like, why am I drinking beer right now? And it's like, oh, because I want to relieve the pressure. I want to relieve that my brain's going a million miles an hour. So there's things that sedate you and there's things that support you. And obviously the ones that are supporting you are the ones that are better. But there's so much pressure going on, and there's so much I don't know what to do here, and AI can only answer so much. But there's definitely ways to avoid getting taken off, and making bad decisions like drinking and driving, getting a DUI, and going to jail, and then You have now
Yeah.
a public name for that, right? So or records for that. So
It's an interesting thing of trying to relieve the pressure and doing it in a healthy way.
yeah,
I know, I've had a similar experience of just like, hey, this is slowing me down. And, for those of us who want to run 1,000,000 miles an hour, that's that's counterproductive.
yeah,
So I guess what are some tools or even activities that you found to
yeah,
relieve that pressure that
yeah.
are more healthy that still move you forward?
Sure. Yeah, no, I'm glad you asked the question. So there's a few. One of them is dream building. So occasionally I will see, you will see me on Google looking up Rolls Royces and looking at videos or different cars like that, supercars and things like that. I will go to that to dream of me eventually owning a Porsche 911 Turbo S, or or
Mm,
owning a Ferrari,
yes.
or driving or being driven around in a Rolls Royce Phantom, or driving a Cullinan. So a lot of times, dream building is what helps me cast the vision super far in the future. And it's not just monetary, but at the same time, it's one of those, now I get to rest, if you will. Another thing is, in the dream building sector is I plan on circumnavigating the globe, and so looking at sail catamarans, videos of that helps me um, see, or remind myself rather, that what I'm doing is going to be worth it, because the destination is what I'm looking for. And yes, I am trying to enjoy the journey, but the journey is very hard. So there's things that work in that sense, that are dream building. Another thing that I do on a weekly or biweekly basis is I go for a ride on my electric scooter,
Okay.
and I just go be a kid. And I bunny hop over things, and so I got a big Segway 9-bot scooter that I drive around. So that's helpful. What is not helpful is listening to like emo music, emo and rock music. I've
Yeah,
noticed that my
you got
brain
to
doesn't,
control what's going in. Yeah.
yeah, garbage in, garbage out. So other things that help when I'm overloaded, sensory overload, is an information overload, is using classical music, and I've seen has helped me a lot. Different like frequencies I've tried on YouTube. You can just YouTube them, like
Hmm.
frequencies for ADD people. Like the last 5 or 6 days, I've been listening to like ADD music, and it's like frequency music that it's like a beat that my brain is going at. Another thing I like to do is I go for walks. And I listen to classical music. And what I'll end up doing is I'll end up debriefing or doing talk text to my assistant, or to myself, and writing, and then going and taking those and then putting those into either ChatGPT or Grok, and then coming up with a game plan. Because ultimately, at the end of the day, when I'm freaking out, it's because I didn't do what I was supposed to do. And then it's just a matter of identifying what those tasks are, and then asking myself, okay, why did it take me 2 weeks to get this, this request for proposal out? Why? Well, because, I don't know what to do. It's like, okay, cool. If you did know what to do, what would that be? Like, if you had to have it done, you had a gun to your head, what would you have done? And I like to remind myself that done is better than perfect. And so,
Hmm.
try to, I suppose I'm OCD, I guess, I don't know. But I just, I don't want to sound not professional, because I'm a college dropout and I don't have any degrees like all these people do. And so I don't want to sound like I'm not on the inside, an insider. And so I end up making myself not work and get things done that I need to get done. One thing that I do on the negative side is go doing minuscule tasks that don't mean anything. They don't move the ball forward in anything, but they're tasks that need to get done. And I tend to see myself doing more. The key is that I catch myself, and that's the hard part. Is like, oh yeah, we all know we do that, but catching yourself doing it, and then asking myself, okay, why am I doing these things? Well, because the pain of, I don't know what to do on this side. Electrical engineering for a 500 megawatt get natural gas turbine. It's like, I don't know what to do. And so catching yourself, I think, is the hard part. But to be able to work that out, I have a process that I do on Mondays. I set sails. So it's like sailing, like in a boat, setting the sails of, hey, if we had an outstanding week, this was like, heck yeah, dude, we had an outstanding week on Friday. What would I have to get done to feel that way? Right? Not even like, okay, cool, we got all this stuff done. It's like, no, for me to feel that way, because internally I'm an achiever. And if I'm not achieving things, I don't feel personally, again, this is not for everybody, but I don't feel personally like I'm actually achieving things. Mind you, I'm running circles around everybody else. But still in my head, because I didn't achieve something on a daily basis, I learned that from Strength Finders, that book. If I didn't achieve something on a daily basis, I don't feel like I'm getting anything done. When most people, if you followed me around the camera, you'd be like, dude, you're getting so much done. How do you not feel accomplished? Well, it's because I don't have a plan. And so, I learned, things like the power list from Andy Frisella. I was doing that. And now we call it the, setting the sails. And it's just, again, casting the vision for the next 5 days. What is that going to be? What is that going to look like? We also do that with my team for the next 14 days. I try not to go 30, 60, 90 days out, but we end up having to do that too. But we more focus on the next 5 days and the next 14 days of setting the sails. Hey, what's it going to look like for you to feel like you're having a good time at work today or this week or the next 2 weeks?
Yeah, we definitely practice priority setting on our side too. But you've mentioned education a couple times, and I think a lot of people have seen Landman at this point. And, even in that show, there's this dichotomy of the guys who are just coming in off the street and, these very high level scientists and engineers. So you being in the energy industry, what have you seen in real life on that dichotomy? And like you had already mentioned, you're self-taught entrepreneur from learning how to do business. So like, what's that dynamic like in real life?
Dude, anything is, if you have the ability to be resourceful, you can find out anything. You just have to take more of like an Elon Musk approach of like, a physics point of view on it is, can it be done? Okay. And then you just reverse engineer it, like scientific method, reverse engineering it from there. It's like, okay, cool. I'm 29 years old at the time. Can I start a private equity fund? Yes, absolutely. Anybody can with, 20, 30, 40, $50,000. Okay, cool. Well, I can start it, but how do I become successful? Well, I have to understand all of these, basic elementary style, level of understanding, SEC, filings and all the legal side of what I can and what I cannot say. And, the how do I stay out of prison, information. But the cool part is now that as we're recording this today, with superhuman intelligence through AI, a lot of that, if you prompt it correctly, it can teach you that. So boots on ground experience, I'll give you this. This is a little plug on the AI stuff. Since I'm working on a AI data center, is for me to go and learn how to pass and get the Series 65, and then also learn about these data centers and be able to talk the language. I was with the CEO of Energy Transfer yesterday in a meeting. For me to be able to talk the language, even though I don't have very little experience in it, I had ChatGPT and Grok both create a test on a 5th grade, 9th grade, 12th grade, master's, and then postgraduate questions and answers like it was the Series 65. Tell me what the right answer is, why it is the right answer, and then why the wrong answer is the wrong answer. And then I just read through those over and over and over again. So I'm reading the question. I don't want to have to guess. I want to know what the answer is right away. And then I'm reading why the right answer is the right answer. And then understanding stuff about, trying to fool you and trick you, right? Like a Series 65 test would do. And that's how I've been able to learn so quickly about all of these items. And then I record everything that I do, throw the transcribe into ChatGPT or Grok. I'm actually doing both right now because we're technically trying to transition over to Grok, but I use the transcribes and then I tell Grok to be my 40-year experienced data center developer or power provider, right? That's builds microgrids and take the transcribes of what I have. And then from there, I'm able to extract not just summaries and the basics, but I'm talking like tasks, things that I need to delegate. It's gonna then teach me about certain things that you have got a BC, you got a MMBTU. It's like, cool. My Grok or my GPTs, every single time there is a acronym, it always will spell out what the acronym means, because there's all these acronyms in the game of finance and in the game of oil and gas or energy, and let alone that now data centers. So I'm learning quickly because I've taught my AI tools to teach me as I'm going through this. And staying organized is important there.
I think with the speed that everything's moving, if you don't learn how to use it as your knowledge base, I think you're going to get left behind. Uh, on the knowledge front, like what else have you done in your career to build up that business acumen, to build up that knowledge?
Dude, read a lot of books, paid a lot of money in masterminds that you and I were in years ago. I was in, Cole's mastermind and learned a lot of business, being around people that were sharing about their business and things that, I always tell people one of my biggest superpowers is learning more from billionaires and millionaires' failures than their successes. And so when somebody that's a very successful person says, "Hey, this thing is important," it's just like in uni, when the teacher or professor says, "Hey, this is going to be on the test," it's like I've got a note that has all of those key takeaways from billionaires or multimillionaires or people just that I meet. Like travel while you're young. It's like, okay, cool. Well, Mikey's traveled literally the world.
Yeah.
I haven't been to all the continents, but I've traveled the world. Why? Because people that are uh, older, they will tell you their experience. Now the hard part is that their experience is going to be very different than our current experience, but they can still teach you, and you can extract and use them as resources of how you go about in life. But how I learned business was uh, essentially just believing that I could, which was the hardest part. I had to realize that being a business owner, being an operator, is in my blood. My dad was a failure and my mom is great as an entrepreneur. My dad was a failed entrepreneur. And so who do I get most of right? I want my parents to be proud of me and all this stuff. So to be proud of them, I have to submit to them, me going and being a teacher. Well, I don't want to be a teacher, right? I wanted to be something else. And so that was very hard for me to not go and be a teacher like my dad wanted me to do. But because my dad was a failed entrepreneur. But I realized, like, wait a second, all my mom's uncles, so my great uncles, my grandfather's brothers, and all of my dad's mom's brothers were all multimillionaire, successful business entrepreneurs. And I was like, dude, this is in my blood. And so I
Yeah.
was like, okay, like, how do I fail? Okay, well, cool. These are the ways I can fail. And then, cool, what do I need to succeed? Okay, cool. Well, I can go and buy a $20 book, read it 5, 10, 15 times, take notes on it, extract it, and then archive ideas, use the Jim Quick, implement right away on the left-hand side of the paper, and on the right-hand side of the paper, use for archive ideas for later. And that's just gaining knowledge knowledge is potential power. Execution is power. And so, yes, you can get all this knowledge, but the problem is you can get really fat on knowledge. And it's like, okay, cool. If you don't have the courage to go and try and fail and be okay with failing, you cannot take these tools that you have. You have the keys to a Lamborghini. If you don't know how to drive stick shift, you're not going to be, you're not going to be going very fun or very fast at all. And so, yes, knowledge, reading books over and over and over and over and over again is important, but also at the same time, going out and being okay with failing. And I don't care, dude. Like, my mom loves me. My sister loves me. My wife thinks I'm the, coolest guy in the entire world. Like, I don't care what people think about me. I do, but I used to struggle with that a lot. And so that's
Okay.
why I thought a lot of guys or entrepreneurs fail, is that they believe that their personal, persona, if you fail, that you're a failure. Well, guess what? Most billionaires, the average billionaire I've read, I don't know if it's true or not, but the average billionaire has gone bankrupt 7 times. That means, like, usually that means like losing everything. Like, how
Hmm.
humiliating is that? You had this big company, you had the Rolls Royces and the jets, you lost everything. You're telling me that person wasn't humiliated? Of course they were. But yet they were able to come back and do it again and do it again and do it again. And so that's where in my head I was like, if I fail, the only way that I really fail is if I quit, or if I don't learn the lesson and try to do the same thing and hallucinate like, oh, that I wasn't the actual problem, it was the president. It's like, no, I was the problem.
So you're building your fund right now, correct?
Yeah, we're on fund 2, about to start fund 3.
Okay. So,
We're building
what's
the brand of the fund.
yeah,
Yeah, we're building the brand of the fund. Yes, absolutely. Still.
what's the big future goal? Like, what's the overall strategic plan? What's the outcome you're seeking?
Yeah. So initially, I realized that I would get money and then go tell people I had money and then get pitched on deals. Now, that was the first like 2 years. Now I've realized over the last 2 years that I have to structure the deals. I actually literally have to put the deal together myself, like Frankenstein this thing, Mr. Potato Head this thing. And then when I do that, that is the value that the family offices and the larger private equity firms, that's what they want, because they don't want to do that. That's the hard part, right? Because you have to kiss a million frogs just to get, or 999,999, right? Just to get the one deal, the princess deal. And that's not in the sense of, investing, but as far as like venture capital, but a lot of these deals are just absolutely trash. And, you have to pay a low level guy to do that. And unfortunately, that's what I'm doing. But I'm learning. I know I'm getting 10,000 hacks in the batting cage, getting pitched 10,000 times. And again, I'm learning as I'm getting pitched. And then I go and debrief that and I go, okay, cool. Like he said this word. What did that mean? What was a convertible debt? What was, SBLC, right? Like, standby letter of credit. What was that? Okay, cool. And then I'm just gaining knowledge of getting pitched on these deals, and then essentially pretending like I'm investing, and then following that investment. So it's almost like paper trading. But now what we're doing is, so initially I was getting deals thrown to me, and now I'm going out and putting deals together. And that's where the real value's at. So we were going from, $2 to $5 million investments. Now we're in the ballpark of $1.5 billion to $5 billion. And that only comes now. Obviously, that's a large jump, brother. That's a scary jump, right? And it's not because that's like, oh, that's where I'm going to make all this money. I'm going to have this freaking jet. It's like, dude, I've already been to Fiji. I've already been to the Keys. I've already been to the Bahamas. Like, I've seen it all. I'm good. Like, I've driven in the Rolls Royces. I've driven Rolls Royces, like driven supercars, have the fast cars, right? Like nothing's really faster than my Tesla anyway. So I go fast every day. Like I'm good. I don't need fast. I'm good. But putting deals together I realized that I was doing the same amount of work for $5 million deals as it's going to take for $5 billion deals. Yes, it takes some cojones to be able to do that, but that is the problem that I'm solving is power for data centers. Right now, everyone wants to do data centers. They don't have power.
And like you were talking about, there's 1,000 deals to sort through. How, like, one, you have to have a good deal. That's obviously in alignment with, what the family office or whoever the investor is, what they're seeking after, what's their investment thesis. But how do you make yourself stand out and get the attention of that investor from, the other maybe 90 deals that are good?
How do you stand out? You take your shirt off and you go ride on pump jacks. No, I'm kidding. Done that. That actually did work a little bit. You have to be not about the money. You have to be about the purpose. And I know that obviously the banks at the end of the day, they don't care about the purpose. They care about the money. But they want to see great operators, kind of like Cole says, right? You need to find a great operator, or Dan Fleischman says, you need to find a great operator that, when the booth, falls apart at, the day before, that you're there at 4 a.m., 2 a.m. working on it. Not someone that's like, oh yeah, like it's Saturday, I got to be with my family. It's like, thank God I don't have a family right now. I have a wife, but my wife is on board doing what we're doing. Someone that is obsessed with what they're doing, and understands that they're not perfect and that they're going to make mistakes. Oftentimes everyone thinks they need to come in super polished with the Texas A&M or the whatever, the TCU or Oklahoma, whatever university, NYU university degree. It's like, dude, I'll run circles around those guys because they don't have the 10 years of experience, actually knocking on doors, doing business that way. I actually have that. I've got the grit, I've got the tenacity, and I've got the hunger to be able to do that. So what makes you stand out is your ability to be humble that you don't know everything. It is super important. And then showing a path on how you're actually learning.
Taking it to a higher elevation, what do you think people need to know about that's not necessarily being talked about? Because you're on this kind of cutting edge. You're dealing with the data center stuff and the energy, both like big topics right now, but what are people missing?
I mean, immediately I thought about identity, right? Purpose, like finding actual purpose in life. I think what people are ultimately missing, and what men truly are trying to seek, is purpose in life, and how to be happier, right? It's a moving target. It's really hard to, I would say, find your ultimate destiny or your ultimate purpose. And are you walking in that on a daily basis? or weekly basis or monthly basis. And I think what most people are missing, we can obviously talk about, Bitcoin. They probably missed the train on Bitcoin. They're still going to miss the train on Bitcoin,
Yeah.
right? There's a lot of things that they're missing, but I think ultimately the main thing that people are missing is why aren't you sitting down and like trying to identify what your purpose is, at least for the next season of your life? Like maybe you got kids, okay, cool. Like, maybe you can be a better husband or a better, spouse, or, maybe you need to be there for your parents or whatever that looks like, and finding out their purpose for the season. And then, yeah, sure. Obviously you need to find like a larger purpose, I think. If you don't have a purpose, you're probably going to be, sleeping past your alarm system, but, or your alarm clock. But I think purpose and identity is the biggest issue. People are faking that they are something that they're really not. And I've done that in the past. There's a really good book called Mask of Masculinity by Lewis Howes. Really good book. And just talked about like all these masks, like, Mikey's the strong guy because I work out and I look like I guess I'm whatever. I work out, look like I work out. It's being able to accept where you are and what you've done in the past and realize that if you've made mistakes in the past, that is not who you are, and that's not who you have to be. The ancient philosopher Aristotle, I believe, said that how you do anything is how you do everything. And if you've done it in the past, that is what you are. Meaning that means that I am still a drug addict. Then I've been 2013, so going on 12 years now, clean from synthetic heroin, Oxycontin. So okay, cool. Well, I was an addict, which means I'm always an addict. It's like, no. It's like you can close that book and start writing a second, like Harry Potter 2, and start writing the next page,
Right.
the next pages. It's like you don't have to live in that same book. You can close that book off and start writing the next ones and evolve or adapt. Yeah, people don't believe in themselves as much, I think, is what it is. Is a big deal.
I think you've shared some amazing stuff. Where can people go to find out more about you and some of these amazing lessons that you've learned?
Dude, I mean, I post probably, I don't know, close to 5-6 times a day on, or my team does on, for content that I don't have any Victoria's Secrets. I just give away, all the sauce, social media, obviously, Instagram, YouTube, Facebook, TikTok, the whole 9 yards, LinkedIn. My LinkedIn is definitely more professional, less, Mikey with the shirt off on Instagram kind of thing. Yeah, I mean, I'm all over the internet, so I'm on all the platforms. My YouTube and my LinkedIn are probably more, I would say, more on the professional world, professional side. But we post 3-4 times a day on each one of those platforms. So I mean, I get feedback from what people want, and then I go create content around it from my point of view and how I would have done it differently or how I would do what they're asking. And so it's just I put out as much content as I possibly can to help people, because I can't tell you how many DMs I get from people saying, dude, like I needed to hear this, or like you saved my marriage. Like, and those are the things that are, you helped my son get sober. Like it's those things I don't do it for the likes. I don't care. I do care actually, but I don't care as much as I do for those moments that people message me and they're like, or they stop me at an event and they're like, hey dude, like you're the reason why I started investing. And now I bought Bitcoin at 16,000 or whatever, right? Or I got into oil and gas. I didn't even know you could do that. I want to be a blessing to people, man. And that's why I spend, I don't know, it's like almost $20,000 a month on social media just to add value.
I love it. Well, if you guys want to find out more, it's going to be in the show notes. And thank you again, Mikey. And if you guys are feeling the pressure, go find out how to solve it.
Absolutely. Love that, man. Appreciate you, brother. Thank you.
All right. I got to stand up to